Welcome to the show. We've got an interesting one on this episode for our dear listeners. But before we get started, go ahead and hit the like and make sure you subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. So, with all things inquisivity, and I've heard it's a good way to stay young, to keep your brain functioning, is to be inquisitive and wonder why things are the way they are. It helps in communications. It helps in public relations. It's very important in PR to try to decipher why things are the way they are or how were they before. So in this episode, we're going to look at a very interesting topic. What did people do before eyeglasses? Have you ever wondered? Let's dive right in. So somewhere in the vicinity of Pisa, Italy, around 1286, an unknown craftsman fastened two glass lenses to a frame, likely made of wood or bone, to create the first eyeglasses. Fascinating. So with approximately 2 out of 3 adults in the United States today requiring some form of visual aid, it's safe to say that this invention has been well received. But even though 1286 is well before any of us first discovered the splendor of improved eyesight, it's relatively recent in the larger picture of human existence. Some things that we take for granted that we may use every day. I often wonder, where did it come from? And what did people do before this existed? So how did people with subpar vision get by before there was a convenient lens crafters to pop into? It's also an issue of evolution. If you think about survival of the fittest, if you're an animal born in the wild and you had poor vision, you would probably either starve to death or be killed and eaten by a predator. There's not much historical evidence explaining how our prehistoric ancestors fared into the absence of visual aids. So we're left to use some combination of deduction and common sense to determine how, say, a sight-impaired individual would keep up with the pack in a group of hunter-gatherers, like I just mentioned. Human beings have this special quality of being able to keep our weak alive, our less abled alive, and be able to help them live a normal life. It's a fascinating thing that doesn't exist in any other species. A person with imperfect vision could still be useful to a group simply because sharp eyesight to read signs, documents, and the like wasn't necessary in prehistoric times. As civilization progressed, those with visual impairments could even find their condition produce certain advantages, right? A myopic, meaning nearsighted person, for example, could find themselves steered towards a craftsman role for their ability to focus on detail. That said, humankind used visual aids for many centuries before the first eyeglasses appeared in the Middle Ages. Here are a few of the tools that helped those dealing with hyperopia, farsightedness, and other sight-related challenges. So let's take a look at early lenses. Archaeological digs in the Eastern Mediterranean area have uncovered the existence of plano-convex lenses, meaning flat on one side and rounded on the other, made of glass and rock crystal that date back to the Bronze Age. The most well-known example is the Nimrod lens, which was found in the remains of an Assyrian palace in modern-day Iraq. While it's unknown what these lenses were used for, some of them magnify objects between 7 and 9 times, rendering them useful for work on items in close quarters. Think using a magnifying glass to do work with minute and tiny detail. In his book, Renaissance Vision from Spectacles to Telescopes, Vincent Ilardi suggests that the presence of holes, or resting points as he called them, on some of these lenses indicates they may have been propped up in a way that allowed artisans to use their hands. Additionally, he offers the discovery of a 5,300-year-old Egyptian ivory knife handle with carved microscopic figures as evidence that ancient Egyptians had a means for providing vision enhancements. These weren't the only civilizations to discover uses for lenses. A 2.3 gram convex crystal lens was found in the tomb of a son of Chinese Emperor Liu Zhu, who lived in the 1st century CE. Amazing. Its creation was fostered by the optical studies published centuries earlier by Chinese scholars, including the philosopher Mozi and King Luyan. Very fascinating stuff. Something that many of us just put on in the morning and go about our day. Or even contact lenses, which is essentially performing the same function, but in a different format and shape and size. It's really cool to see these things and how they developed and where we are today, and some of the daily items that we just use and we never think, what were people doing before this existed? So that brings us to the end of this episode. Again, like and subscribe if you are enjoying this content. We will bring you more. As always, head over to buymeacoffee.com/SamsonKing to make a small donation. And thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.